Hi, I'm Steffany Strange. Want to hear something scary?
It was Christmas Eve, and Vitlome was stressed. She'd been working around the clock to make ends meet, and she desperately hoped she wasn't forgetting something as she trudged through the snow. She cursed again at living in the Icelandic countryside. The bus dropped her a 30-minute walk from her door. Still, the sight of seeing her children's excited faces kept her going. As she got closer to her house, she was surprised to see it in eerie darkness. Usually, she was greeted by twinkly lights decorating the trees along the driveway. Elga couldn't have gotten Anna and Johan to bed already. Juggling packages to find her key, she didn't notice anything unusual as she opened the door. "Hello," she called, entering the hallway. But instead of two small children running into her arms, she was greeted by silence. "Elga? Anna, Johan, where are you?" Again, nothing. Maybe they wanted to surprise her with gingerbread and suspiat cookies, although the smell of spices was noticeably absent. Rushing to the kitchen, she was hit instead by a vile stench. Suddenly, she slipped, landing in a pool of something warm and sticky. Struggling to stand, she finally managed to push herself up, and the carnage was revealed. Blood. And sticking out from the other side of the kitchen island was a leg. She screamed at the sight of the babysitter, Elga, or what was left of her. The babysitter's body had been ripped apart, teeth and claw marks evident on the remaining flesh. But Vitlome had no time to mourn the teen. She raced up the stairs to her children's bedrooms. She could only hope and pray whatever had gotten in, a wolf, maybe a bear, had not found her babies. She flung open Anna's door. The room was empty. She cried out for Johan and ran towards his room. Her heart stopped. He lay on the floor, his small body broken, covered in bite marks. As she threw herself on top of her son's body, she heard a noise from the closet. She grabbed the lamp from Johan's nightstand and crept towards the door, raising the lamp upwards to be ready to strike. She tripped and fell as something small launched out of the closet and into her arms. "Mama!" Anna sobbed. Vitlome hugged her daughter tightly, Anna choking back sobs as she looked at Johan and then pointed at Vitlome's door. "It went there," she whispered. Vitlome edged towards her bedroom, freezing as she heard the noise. A low growling, almost like a rumble, almost like a purr. Placing Anna behind her, she looked into the hallway where Johan's attacker was revealed. It was a giant black cat-like creature, the size of a panther with glowing red eyes. Its back was arched, razor-sharp claws extended, and when it opened its mouth, she could see rows of tiny, dagger-like teeth. It was the Yule cat, the Yule-kotteren. The wooden floor around its feet stained scarlet, evidence of the lives it had cruelly taken. She shook with fear as the terrifying creature stalked towards them, Anna bearing herself into her mother's back. She'd already witnessed what this beast was capable of, the bodies of her son and Elga testament to its violent nature. Trembling, she just hoped it would be sated with her and leave Anna unscathed. It stepped closer, staring into her eyes, glowing orbs mesmerizing. It took a long, deep sniff. Vitlome prepared herself for the pain, and then the monster just walked away and out of the house. Vitlome sank to her knees, hugging Anna in relief. She thought the legend of the hungry Yule cat who roamed the Icelandic countryside on Christmas Eve was just a story to encourage hard work. According to the old tale, the gift of new clothes, whether they be coats, socks, or whatever, were the only protection against the monstrous feline. She looked down at the new work trousers she'd had to buy, at the new pajamas Anna was wearing because she'd torn her old pair. She whimpered, remembering Johan's new onesie that she'd had to return since it was too big. How could she have known the legend was real and the dire consequences of simply forgetting to buy him another? Vitlame and Anna's new attire had saved their lives. The Yule cat had been hunting, but perhaps the bland, off-putting smell of new clothing had masked the smell of the seasoned food the Yule had craved. So it left them behind, slinking off into the night, following more scents to other fresh meat.
Marley could feel it before she opened the door. Something dropped in her stomach as she reached for the doorknob, protesting, begging her to turn away and leave. I hate that tree, Marley thought as she walked into her house. She aggressively approached the blinking lights before she could even close the door. Green, red, orange, blue, white. Blinking fast, then slowly, then fast again because her mother hadn't set the speed. She just left the lights to cycle through whatever the factory setting was. Marley knew they were Christmas lights, but they felt like eyes when she came into the room and saw them changing color while she watched, almost like they were blinking at her. Blinking at her from behind these gaudy Christmas ornaments clustered in front, ornaments that almost drowned out the consistent blinking. Almost. Marley groaned as she walked in, unable to pull her eyes away from the monstrosity, the monster. She eyed it, and from somewhere beneath the lights and ornaments and tinsel, it stared right back at her. Marley walked toward the tree, deeper into the living room, scattered with the storage bins that held those offensive ornaments and other collective tree trash for most of the year. Her shoulders instinctively raising with every step. She didn't feel it happening, but knew what was going on. Marley was preparing herself to fight, preparing herself for battle. Because it was in there. And this year, she was going to get it out. The wind whipped outside the open front door, pushing in the cold air and letting out the warmth. But Marley didn't even feel the chill in the air. She threw her backpack to the floor. She needed her hands free for what was to come. Marley's chest heaved as the tree vibrated. The tree reached out to Marley, surprising her. She craned her neck, cringing, spine arching, desperate not to feel the coarse bristles against her skin as the branches elongated, stretched their plastic tips towards Marley's face. Her feet tangled beneath her, and she shrieked in a surprise as she fell, a sound she wished she hadn't made. Now her mother would come to see what was wrong. Her mother would come and ask why the door was open. Her mother would see what lived in the tree, and it would go after her too. Its bloody mouth spread into a smile, as if it could read Marley's thoughts. Marley could see its eyes now, set deep in the thick of the fake tree that was older than she was. Marley knew her mother had played Christmas songs by Johnny Mathis and drank wine as she trimmed the tree just like she did every year. And just like every year before that one, the beast in the tree woke up, blinked its hateful eyes, and waited. For what? Marley didn't know. Maybe for Marley to get too close so it could stick its metal fasteners in one of her eyes, or scratch her face as she reached for presents. Her mother never seemed to notice. Maybe, Marley had time to wonder, it was just waiting for me. Marley's hair pulled from her scalp as a branch she hadn't noticed wound itself around a few braids. Enough to hurt, enough to trap her. Marley wanted to scream, wanted to open her mouth and call for help, but the branches pressed into her mouth, ripping her tongue from her jaw and diving through the tunnel of her throat to strangle her breath. Some of the tinsel on the lower branches was knocked loose and tangled itself in Marley's hair as she was dragged under it, into it. It was a perfect wrapping for the perfect gift. Joanne came from the basement with another bin full of ornaments and put them on the floor in front of the tree. She stood straight, placed her hands on her hips, tired from walking up the stairs, mostly, but almost because there really wasn't any more room for more ornaments. She plumped the limbs, marveling at how such an old tree could still look so brand new, full and flush like she felt after a satisfying meal. Then she spotted it. Maybe there was room for a few more, Joanne thought as she smiled. Right there, where Marley dropped her bag.
Gather around, good boys and girls. Daniel Millar, Emma Sweeney, and yes, you too, Richard Blackwell. Are you all warm and cozy? Good. Because now it's time for A Christmas Tale by Scott A. Johnson. 'Twas the night before Christmas, and deep in our bunker, my mom, dad, sister, and I did hunker. The streetlights were dark, no carolers sang, not even the blessings of old church bells rang. And beneath our beds, we all huddled tight and hoped he would pass by our house tonight. Everyone knows of jolly Saint Nick and the gifts that he brings on his single night trick, and the presents and baubles and candy and toys that he brings every Christmas to good girls and boys. But it wasn't the man with red suit and white beard whose annual Christmas visit we feared. Outside in the snow, we heard a loud howl, the crunching of ice, and an animal growl. I heard it sniff by our window pane, then a deep, throaty laugh, and saw red eyes like flame. My sister and I both stared, horrified, and prayed that the creature could not get inside. But a moment later, a thundering pound turned our door to splinters all over the ground. I screamed as the creature into our home came, this horrible beast, Von Krampus by name. He was massively tall, at least 7 feet, from the points of his horns to his hoof-shodden feet. Across his back, what I mistook for a coat was the shaggy long hair of a filthy dead goat. And I cried and I swallowed my terrified pangs at the sight of his wickedly razor-sharp fangs. His claw-fingered hands looked ready for pain. In one was a bullwhip, the other a chain. He growled and he sneered and laughed for a while. Then he pointed at us and said, "Naughty," with a smile. My sister and I both shook with fear. What terrible things had we done this year? We tried to be good and thought we succeeded. We minded our manners, no punishment needed. We both made good grades. We neither one lied or cheated or stole. We had nothing to hide. But Krampus still came, with his evil heart black, to steal us away, stuff us in his sack, to take us away to his punishment cave, where all the bad children forever his slaves. We turned to our parents behind them to hide, but they both shook their heads and sadly stepped aside. "You must face the music," my father lamented. Von Krampus then laughed, his expression demented. My sister and I hugged each other tight and prayed that someone could save us that night. And just when we gave up and all hope was gone, there came a loud clatter from out on the lawn. With a tinkle of bells, our spirits did lift. Von Krampus snarled, the air he did sniff. On the wind came the scent of holly and pine, of gingerbread cookies and holiday wine. In the doorway he stood in his suit of bright red. St. Nicholas came, we cried out and said, "Save us, St. Nicholas, there's been a mistake. We've been good all year, you can't let him take." "Hold on, not so fast," he raised his great hand. "There is something happening you don't understand. Von Krampus did come, that much is true, but the demon of Christmas did not come for you." At the demon we stared, both of us confused. He had to be here for somebody, but who? Then I started to think, and all became clear. Who'd been the naughtiest of all that year? The more that I thought, the more I understood. We children were fine, but the parents, no good. But Krampus takes children, my father protested, and Santa's face twisted toward the man he detested. Christmas time is for children and gifts to be given. You took their innocence, and that can't be forgiven. You scared them into silence, their souls you did twist, and to top it off told them I didn't exist. For your lifelong naughtiness, the piper must be paid, and set Krampus upon them with a dismissive wave. The adults screamed as they went into a sack, and we cried until Santa patted my back. What's wrong? Asked St. Nicholas. I thought you'd be happy to be rid of those people who treated you crappy. We are, I sniffed, sincere as could be. But what is to become of my sister and me? St. Nicholas smiled and laughed loud and deep, as did Krampus, a sound that still haunts my sleep. Why, you'll come with me, he said with great joy. I have great use for a good girl and boy. You'll come to my workshop and work with my elves. I promise that you will enjoy yourselves. I'll teach you my secrets, my toy-making ways, and then you'll take over when I've ended my days. But, said my sister, what about him? Won't Krampus be lonely? She scratched his chin. I wish to thank him, and I know the way. I will go with him and be his protege. And so, from Kris Kringle, I learned to make toys, and my sister to torture naughty girls and boys. And every evening from that point thereafter, my dreams were full of parent screams and my sister's laughter. And so this ends our happy Christmas story. If you're nice and not naughty, you've no need to worry. But if your heart's full of coal and you're an evil mister, try to hide, but you'll soon meet Krampus and my sister.
Thanks so much for listening. Like and share if this video gave you the chills. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell for notifications. See you next time.